All right, hello everybody, this is Math Martin here. So if you're in my geometry class, this is the video going over our notes for distance formula and midpoint formula. If you're from Miss Kessler's class, hi, nice to meet you. And everybody else, hope this is a helpful video for you for learning distance formula and midpoint formula. So first off, the distance formula is a formula that uses 2 points, so we label them x1, y1, and x2, y2. And our formula, we use d for distance equals the square root, and inside the square root we have x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now, like I told my students, the key thing that everybody forgets about is after you take care of all this stuff inside with the points, you have to take the square root at the end. And see, people forget to do that sometimes because you're so busy focused on this. So make sure you take the square root at the end when you're trying to find the distance. So let's do a few examples together. So the first example involves a graph, and it says find the distance between the 2 points on the graph. So we have a point right here at the end and then another point right here. So it looks like this first point over here is at -5, 3. So we have a point at -5, 3. And then my other point is at -2, -3. So -2, -3. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you call point 1 and point 2. I just go in order. So we're going to label this is x1 and y1. This is x2 and y2. And then all you have to do to start it off is you put your numbers, substitute them into the correct places inside of your distance formula. So we have distance equals the square root, parentheses, so x2 comes first, so that's my -2, minus x1, which is -5, and we'll come back to this in a second, squared, plus, then y2 is -3, minus y1 is +3 squared. So you just have to get the numbers in the correct spots based on what you labeled them and looking at the formula. All right, so now we're going to bring down our square root because we haven't used it yet. So a negative and a negative right here actually ends up making this positive. So this is really -2 plus 5 squared. And then over here, -3 minus 3 more is -6 squared. So we're just simplifying a little bit more. Equals the square root. -2 plus 5 gives us our 3 squared plus, so -6 squared. So key thing, because I know students will type this in the calculator and they don't think about what they're doing, and you get -36. But we all know a negative times a negative is a positive. So if you do -6 squared, that means -6 times -6, which means you should get +36. So if you're going to type it in the calculator, you have to include the parentheses so the calculator knows what it's doing. All right, or just to keep in mind, squares always end up with positive answers. Then 3 squared gives you 9. So you have the square root of 9 plus 36, which gives you the square root of 45. Now you can either leave it like this, is what I do, because there is no square root of 45. Or if you wanted to find the decimal approximation, it's about 6.7. And it's totally okay to get decimals for answers. Decimals are numbers too. Okay, so that's like how you go through when you have 2 points from the graph. And they don't have to give you a graph every time, as you can see in the next 2 examples. So pause the video if you need to, so you can write down what you need and check everything. All right, so let's look at example 2. Okay, so they want us to find AB, which when they say this in geometry, I don't know if you can see, there we go. Find AB. When they have letters together like that, that means they want the measurement or the length of a segment. So they want you to find the distance. Given, and they gave us our 2 points, A and B. All right, so I'm just gonna label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So same thing, we're gonna set up our distance formula. We have our lovely square root. So the first thing is our x2, which in this case is a 3, minus our x1 is a negative 4 squared, plus parentheses, so y2 is negative 1 minus y1 is a positive 1 squared. Okay, and then we're going to take the square root. So we already know a negative and a negative makes a positive, so this is really saying 3 plus 4, which gives us 7 squared, plus negative 1 minus 1 more is negative 2 squared. All right, so then we're going to actually find our squares. So 7 squared is 49 plus, so negative 2 squared, and negative times a negative is a positive, and you get positive 4. Then 4 plus 49 would be the square root of 53. Again, doesn't have a perfect square root, so you can either leave it like that, or if you type it in the calculator, you should get approximately 7.3. So the distance for AB is 7.3. Okay.